Why some Minneapolis homes are not selling right now. Some Minneapolis homes are sitting on the market. Others are selling quickly. Multiple offers, over asking price. It's the same market, but two completely different results. Here's the thing. Once you know what drives these results, the outcome becomes predictable. In this video, we're going to break down why some Minneapolis homes are not selling, why these homes are sitting, and what sellers need to understand right now in this market. Stick around to the end, because I'll also be sharing the one mistake that turns a 2-week problem into a 2-month problem. I recently talked with a homeowner. They were getting ready to sell their home, and they had really simple expectations. The home down the street had sold for a certain price. Their home was similar, so naturally they thought theirs could sell for the same price. And I understand why they think that. However, there's one problem in that thinking. That comp they're looking at sold under completely different circumstances. A lot of sellers are looking at homes that sold over the past couple months, sometimes even a year. Another thing is they may be comparing homes that aren't similar style. If they have a 2-story home, you're not going to compare it to a 1-story home, or if you have a split level, you're not going to compare it to a 2-story home. A lot of sellers don't understand that the different type of home draws different buyers. Another mistake they make is they don't look at their current competition. They only look at past sales. Today, the conversation has changed compared to what the conversation was months ago or even a year ago. And buyers aren't looking at your home in isolation. They compare all the homes that they can get for the same monthly payment, not just the price point. They look at homes that have updated kitchens, homes where a seller already adjusted their price point. Maybe they've lowered it already. The other property needs less work, has a newer roof, newer siding, newer windows. There's new construction nearby that's offering an incentive. Your competition is much bigger than the house that sold down the block months and months ago, if not even years ago. And that's where the frustration sets in. Sellers compare their home to the old market, what they've seen. They need to be comparing their home to what the market is now and where it's headed. And that's what this video is built around. If we're just meeting, I'm Aaron with Titan Real Estate Group. I help homeowners navigate the Minneapolis market and the surrounding suburbs. And here's what sellers need to understand. A home sitting doesn't mean nobody wants to buy it. There's 2 things that why homes don't sell. It's price and condition. There's something that's killing the buyer's urgency to act now. And here's a couple different reasons that we'll look at first. Reason number 1, the price is based on yesterday's market. That's the first place I'd look. Sellers are looking at homes that sold before their home is listed. Sellers, homes that have sold months ago, and sometimes they're even looking at years ago. Maybe your neighbor sold for a certain amount. Maybe you saw a similar home sell last year for a higher amount. Maybe you just refinanced your home a couple months ago and you got an appraisal on it, and so you think that's what your home's worth. Now you have all these numbers stuck in your head. And buyers don't care what your home would sell for in a different market. They're only looking at today's market. Let's say you list your home at $500,000. Buyers aren't thinking about, is your home worth $500,000? They're looking at, what else can I get for $500,000? More updated home, a larger lot, a different location, maybe a finished basement, or maybe even something that's slightly more expensive, but just comes with a whole better package. That's your real competition. Buyers touring your home, but choose something else means the market is telling you something. Doesn't mean your house is inherently bad. It means the price is making the alternatives look better. Pricing becomes even more important when buyers are looking at their monthly payment. And that brings me to my second point. Buyers aren't shopping the prices, they're shopping the monthly payment. The sellers greatly underestimate this. The buyer may love your home, they may think the asking price sounds reasonable, but then they calculate their monthly payment, mortgage, property taxes, insurance, HOAs if there is one. Suddenly the conversation changes. The same price feels very different when the monthly cost is higher. Buyers become much more selective, especially when the market is trending towards more of a buyer's market as it has been lately. And if they're stretching their budget, they're going to scrutinize even more. We're talking about age of the roof, age of the windows, the furnace, the AC, those big chunk payments that the buyers are thinking that they'll have to deal with. And you may think the buyers are just being picky. Sometimes they are, but there's a reason. And those things I just mentioned are reason number 3 to look at. And the buyers have less patience for more expensive items. Cosmetic issues such as paint, carpet, light fixtures, those things are easy to change and a lot of buyers are willing to overlook them. However, it's those big ticket items that really make a difference. Furnace, AC, roof, windows, siding, those things cost thousands upon thousands of dollars to replace. And I know what you're thinking, my AC has been going great for the last 20 years. What's the issue? Well, buyers are trained that most air conditioners reach the end of their life at 20 years. So if your AC is 20 years old, even though it's working strong, all the buyers see is a future expense. And we're talking thousands upon thousands of dollars. Same with the roof. The roof's, oh, it's 20 years old. I've never had an issue. It's a 30-year shingle, blah, blah, blah. Well, when they go to get insurance, their insurance is going to be greatly higher because that roof is coming to the end of its life. So now they're not just taking price into consideration, they're taking future repairs into consideration as well. Now, I'm not saying go and renovate your home and replace all these things right away, but we have to understand how the condition will affect the price and buyer's motivation. And the buyers are going to make that comparison with other homes, whether you do or not. Reason number 4 why your home may not be selling is your first impression. Now, I stress this to all my sellers. You have about 3 seconds to catch people's attention. With how much information people have access to on the internet nowadays, they look at your home, you have about 3 seconds before they're clicking on to the next one, right? If you're looking to buy, you do the same thing. You go online, check out Zillow, whatever you're doing. You're looking at homes, you click through the first couple photos, and if it doesn't catch your eye, you're clicking on to the next one, right? Well, buyers that looking at your home are doing the exact same thing. And that's why preparing your home for photos is the most important step of the entire process. I always tell sellers, you have to pack up and move, right? Now, if you pack and declutter before you list, you're going to make more money rather than if you wait to pack until after your home sells. Now, I know packing's no fun. It's probably the least fun part of the whole process. But again, if you can get this done before you list, it's going to pay off in the long run. Other things to think about when getting ready for photos is sometimes sellers want to just vacate their home completely, take all of their furniture, all that stuff. Homes do not show well when they are vacant. People cannot imagine their things in the home, so we have to have things in the home in order to show buyers what the home potential is, right? They say only about 10% of the population can actually visualize what their home would look like with their stuff in it. So therefore, we have to show about 90% of the population what potential the space has by having furniture in there already. And it's small details too, like lighting. You walk through a home and you have a bright light in this room and then a soft light in this room. People notice that whether they realize it or not. It's even on the subconscious level. And so we always make sure that all the light bulbs in the entire house are the same tone, and soft white is always the way to go. Those bright white makes it feel more like a cafeteria or a gymnasium feel, right? Soft white is much more inviting, makes it feel much more like a home. And it's other things too, like when you're getting pictures, that wire hanging down from the TV draws people's attention. Clutter in the home, that's all they look at in the picture. It just draws their eye to it. They're not looking at the picture, they're looking at the clutter and thinking, wow, there's not enough space in this house. Or that wire hanging down from the TV just makes it look ugly, and whether they realize it or not, they're having a negative connotation of that home. Those pictures and how you prepared your home for those pictures are where the buyers decide whether or not to make a home tour. And if we can't get them in the door, we can't sell your house. And when buyers don't come look at the home, the sellers are blaming the market or even the realtor, when the real problem is how you presented your home. And we always do a free staging consult whenever we get your home ready, but if you don't listen to what suggestions that we tell you, it's going to greatly affect the price. So before we talk about making a dramatic price reduction, let's double check and make sure that we're presenting your home in the right light. Another reason why your home may not be selling is your competition is better than what you think. Sellers think about competition geographically. What are homes in my neighborhood selling for? But buyers aren't just looking at your neighborhood, they're looking at the entire Twin Cities metro sometimes. You don't know what your buyer's buying pool is, right? So we have to think about a greater competition pool. Different suburbs, older homes versus newer homes, renovated homes versus unrenovated homes, townhomes versus single family homes, things like that. And depending on the buyer, sometimes new construction even comes into play. Depending on what kind of home you have, where the location is, new construction is definitely something that we can take a look at. Too many times do I see sellers, when I'm out helping buyers, I'm looking at a neighborhood, it's got a home for $500,000 that's 10 years old, needs paint, needs carpet, needs light fixtures. And then right down the street, there's a new construction home for the exact same price, same square footage. You're never going to win if that's the case. Buyers are getting very picky and they want the best combination of house, location, price, all revolved around that monthly payment we talked about, right? I always tell my sellers to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Do a home tour of your own home. Think about what they would be looking at. Think about what you look at when going to see other homes, and does your home match up to those standards? A lot of times I see sellers extremely picky when they're buying. They want the home to be absolutely perfect. However, they're not willing to do those exact same repairs that they're complaining about at other houses to their own home. If you don't like the paint at the other home, what makes you think your bright pink bathroom is going to fare any better, right? Buyers buy off of emotion, and preparing your home and getting it right is going to draw off of that emotion. And it's the value of the home that's really going to make the buyers write up an offer. And so if you have buyers touring your home, but they're not making an offer, that is valuable information that you cannot ignore. Another reason why the homes may not be selling is that sellers are waiting too long to respond to this valuable information, right? If you have buyers coming from your home and they're making the same comments about why they're not buying it, or if we can't even get people to come see the home, that's telling us something, right? And a lot of sellers are very hesitant to lower the price. They're like, oh, let's just give it a little bit more time, give it a little bit more time. They don't realize that those first 2 weeks are the first 10 days even, I give it 2 weekends, right? And usually we go live on a Friday or a Saturday. So that gives us about 10 days to get through 2 weekends. Real estate really happens on the weekend, right? So we go live on a Saturday, and we have those first 2 Saturdays and Sundays, wait it out that first weekdays, then we go back through another weekend cycle. And so from the time you list it until that second weekend cycle, it's about 10 days, right? And if you don't sell your home in those 10 days, more than likely, we're going to have to do a price reduction, because every week that you sit, people are going to wonder, why hasn't this home sold? What's wrong with it? They're less likely to even come see your home at this point. There's other homes coming on the market that are competing. They'd much rather go look at a fresh home that's brand new on the market than go look at the stale listing that hasn't sold yet, and people are wondering why. The logical conclusion is this house sucks, right? If this home hasn't sold in the first 10 days, this home sucks. Why would I want to go see it? Nobody else wanted to buy it. Why do I want to buy it? And there could be absolutely nothing wrong with your home, but perception matters. And if we can't even get people into your home, it's never going to sell, right? Another big mistake is I see sellers want to list their home at absolute top dollar. And, sometimes it's just not the way to go. If I give you a range of 500 to 525, I'm usually going to say, let's list it at 500. And then the market will tell us if it's worth 525 by getting into multiple offers and pushing that price up. Starting your home at 525 is going to get less people into your home and less likely to get an offer. Also, people set up searches in increments of about $25,000, or if not $50,000 to $100,000. So if we're listing at 525 and buyers have a search set up to 500, now we just excluded a very large portion of potential buyers by having that priced over 500. Where if we would have listed it at 500, it would send alerts out to 50 to 100 more people looking in that price range. And even though they're approved for higher than 500, in their minds, they don't want to spend more than 500,000 because of that monthly payment. If we can get them into your home, they fall in love with your home. Now there's another offer on their home. They really want your home. They're willing to stretch their budget just a little bit in order to win that home, which will then drive up the price of your home. So listing at 500 could lead to a 525,000 offer, where listing it at 525 will have your market sitting on the home. We'll then have to do a price reduction to get people in. Then people are probably going to offer under that price reduction as well, because they know they have leverage. So listing your home too high could cost you $25,000 to $50,000. And so now let's talk about that one thing that's most important when selling your home that sellers don't do enough. They don't listen to the buyer's feedback. They get stuck in their own heads. They think they know their house better. They just think that buyer's being crazy or that buyer's being too picky. But if we hear the same stuff over and over and over again, it may not be the buyers who are being too picky. It may be the sellers that have improper expectations, and they need to listen to their buyer's feedback in order to get their home sold. I got a great property that was listed a couple years ago. It was an amazing home, brand new, beautiful, really high quality construction. However, it was right off of a main highway, and that affected people's decisions, right? We got the first weekend, we got a ton of people into the open house. ton of people made showings, and all the feedback was exactly the same. Beautiful home, love it, great price. However, not willing to live next to this highway. And so what that means is that that highway is bringing the price of that home down. Now, they were looking at their other neighboring homes that were a couple blocks into the neighborhood that weren't on that highway. Those were selling for the asking price. However, they weren't on that highway. I warned my sellers about this before we listed. I said, hey guys, I know the home is probably worth this on paper, but because of this road, it's probably going to bring down the value about $25,000, and we should list it at $750 instead of $775. They insisted on $775. House sat on the market for weeks. They refused to lower the price. Months go by. We had to then lower the price. Finally, they agreed to. And because it had sat on the market so long, we then got an offer under that lowered asking price. So now instead of listing it, if we would have listed at $750 to begin with, we probably would have gotten $750. Then instead, they hadn't taken an offer that was sub $750, and it did not work out well. And sellers are always saying, we just need the right buyer. We just need the right buyer. And that's true. Every house just needs the right buyer. But if you have 20 buyers walk through and you're getting the same reaction over and over and over again, that right buyer probably isn't going to even see the house at this point, because again, that negative connotation that we talked about, where it's been on the market so long, people don't even want to come see the home because they just think what's wrong. Again, those first 10 days are the most valuable time. It's very important to listen to the feedback that first weekend and try to make those adjustments before the second weekend rolls around, so we can still hit that, the fresh new listing, the excitement that comes with a fresh new listing, and make sure that we're not losing out because we have overpriced and underpresented the home. And the goal of listing your home is not just to list it, right? Anyone can just list the home. The goal is to sell your home. And if we're not listening to the buyers, the people who are actually going to be paying for your home, we're making a costly mistake that's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars down the road. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. I'm Aaron Zenfenig with Titan Real Estate Group. Now's the time for you to drop some comments below. I respond to every single one of them. We love to hear from sellers that have gone through these troubles, have faced some of these things. I'd love to hear from buyers who are currently looking at these things. And these are the things, drop in the comments what, as a buyer, you're thinking about to help our sellers learn. If you have any questions, let me know. You can drop them in the comments. I respond to every single one, or you can reach out to me directly. Again, Aaron Zenfenig, Titan Real Estate Group, treating you the way that we would want to be treated.